he's on high again.
A trainee pilot with his hands on the simulator tiller. His trainer's notes on the side for reference.
So the speed's increasing, just bring the nose on.
It's lessons as usual for students of the Lion Air Run Pilot School and CASA Training Center who are going through a Boeing 737 simulated landing shortly after the fatal flight that claimed all 189 flights on board.
Center line.
The crash of a Lion Air jet on October 29 into the sea off Jakarta has put a spotlight back on the airline's safety record, although the cause of the crash remains undetermined. A trainee pilot with Lion Air rattles off the various certifications he has to obtain.
When we want to become pilots, after coming out of flight school, we need to go through ground school for about 6 months and learn private pilot license, commercial pilot license, and augmented reality. Then afterwards, we continue to do flight training. After we graduate, we continue with training with the airline.
Potential pilots who graduate from vocational schools or flight schools go directly into Ankasa Training Center and pursue further pilot education for around 18 months. After which, they start jet simulation training, and for 4 months later, they could be tested to qualify for flying.
Even though being a pilot has many risks, I wouldn't be afraid, because I will do everything thoroughly and according to procedures for the sake of the passenger safety.
This process, which takes an average of 2 years, results in a relatively young batch of graduates. These graduates go on to attain pilot certification by flying as a first officer for up to 100 hours. They will then need to clock at least 3,000 more flying hours to be considered for promotion to a captain. Still, oftentimes, those qualified to be promoted to captain could be as young as those in their early 20s with up to 4 years of experience. The principal of the school sheds more light.
Tentunya pertama kali dilakukan oleh fixed base.
We start with fixed base simulations, meaning simulations which are immobile and passive. They delve deeper into the IBT, that's the instructor-based training phase, and to other locations in the simulator to prepare for the next process. This comprises of 3 sessions, and then they go on to the full flight simulator, or FFS, where they learn all cases, all procedures in each type of aircraft, so nothing is missed.
Since a non-fatal crash in Bali in 2013, Lion Air has sought to improve safety by gaining European Aviation Safety Agency certification for its pilot training and maintenance facilities. The budget airline was taken off a European Union blacklist in 2016 after the EU determined it met all international safety standards. None of Indonesia's roughly 100 airlines, most of them tiny, remain on the EU blacklist. Indonesia's civil aviation safety regulator mandates that a pilot is allowed to fly a maximum of 110 hours a month above the 100-hour standard for many other countries. With accusations of pilots here logging in more hours than usual, Lion Air Managing Director Daniel Putut says the carrier is above board.
We follow the regulatory standards, so we follow our regulator, our CISR told us about the maximum hours per pilot is 110, then we go through it, so we comply with this regulation. You can check through our data.
But its latest crisis illustrates the challenge relatively new carriers face as they try to keep pace with unstoppable demand for air travel in developing nations while striving for standards that mature markets took decades to reach. The privately owned budget carrier was founded in 1999. Its aircrafts have been involved in at least 15 safety incidents, and it has been placed under tougher international safety restrictions than other Indonesian airlines. It will now be subjected to more intensive inspections than other airlines, and that's according to the authorities.
Yang kedua, masalah teknis.
The first thing we check is administration and then technical issues. Administration includes certifications and flight logbook from beginning to end. There must be a history on those And then technical issues include the body of the aircraft, wheels, engine, and everything else required for checking. If there are items declared faulty and in need of repair, there will be remarks or recommendations.
Indonesia is one of the world's fastest growing aviation markets, but its safety record has been patchy. Its Transport Safety Panel investigated 137 serious aviation incidents from 2012 to 2017.
An aviation expert is advocating that domestic airlines should not be subject to economic regulations. The Vice President, Pricing and Revenue Management, Copa Airlines Panama, Chris Amenechi, says until operators adopt the right business, operational and funding models, more airlines will collapse.
There is nothing wrong with anyone being an entrepreneur if they're smart and know the niche. There shouldn't be a government regulation. It's not a bank. A bank has people's money. An airline, yes, has to abide by safety. Regulate safety. From an economic standpoint, if I know a niche and I know how to play in that niche, I'm not going to compete with you on Lagos Abuja. To me, that is completely asinine.
Some passengers have been complaining about the long wait to get onto flights built for certain areas of the country. The passengers say airlines must learn to keep in touch with their customers as part of the contract entered into.
The owners of this corporation should be human enough. If it is them that is being done like this, would they be happy? There was a day I came here to join Aero to Port Harcourt. I slept in this place. Nothing is working.
The sanity in the airport, too much crowd. They need to work on reducing crowd at the airport. And the car park too, they need to improve on that as well.
The cost of fueling and maintenance of aircraft may just be part of the reasons domestic airlines in the country are struggling. That's coming from a former president of the National Association of Aircraft and Pilots, Isaac Palami. According to him, some domestic airlines spend as much as 800 million naira to fuel about 9 Boeing 737 aircraft monthly at 200 naira per litre. He said that the local production of aviation fuel could greatly help to reduce costs. British Airways may have to move staff to Spain if Britain leaves the EU without securing a deal. In the event of no deal Brexit, the company may not meet EU ownership rules that allow it to operate due to its British shareholders. Under the European Union's Open Skies Agreement, an airline can only operate in Europe if at least 50% of its shares are held within the EU. It is feared that once Britain leaves the bloc, IAG, which also has shares in Qatar and the USA, it is believed may fall below the threshold. And in Europe, the International Air Transport Association has called for a spirit of change from governments to capture the social and economic benefits of air connectivity by enabling a more competitive air transport sector. According to IATA, 8.5 million flights touch Europe each year. That activity supports 12.2 million jobs, $823 billion of European GDP. IATA says these benefits have the potential to increase, but to fully realize this potential, Europe must address deep-rooted issues which hamper the competitiveness. Chief among the concerns are the onerous regulation, high taxes, and inefficient air traffic management.
That's all on the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Bukola Jo Oketumbi. See you next time.